Welcome to the Geometry Dash podcast. Here, we'll be covering everything on Geometry Dash. This is episode 3 of the Geometry Dash podcast, created by MountainKings, the Dasher 45, BOBWAZHERE, and Verdant.
Geometry Dash.
Welcome to the Geometry Dash podcast. I'm MountainKings. And today, I will be covering the first 3 levels of Geometry Dash, here with my friend, Verdant.
Hi! What exactly are the first 3 levels, though?
Well, the first 3 levels are Stereo Madness, Back on Track, and Polar Levels. Here's the first level, Stereo Madness. Well, it's probably one of the most memorable levels of Geometry Dash. It starts off with a singular spike. Most players will be able to get over it, but if you can't figure it out, on screen it will say tap to jump over the spike. And then after that, the cube will teach you. It will automatically just show you, and you'll learn how far the cube can jump and how high and the way it moves. It's really cool how your brain does that. And then there's just a bit of gameplay with a couple of spikes and, well, yeah. And then you get into a part, and then there's a part with 3 little pillars. Most players will figure out that you can hold to get over it, constantly jumping. And then you can either fall off or jump over it, and that's a freedom that is taken away in later levels. Then there's more spikes, and eventually, after a bit of practice, you'll run into a ship part. It starts off with a lot of empty space, and then there's a singular obstacle you see on the roof. It's telling you that there will be obstacles coming up, and you can't rely on the ground. Then there's an obstacle on the ground. Most players will figure out that if you hold on the screen, it'll make you go up. Some people will tap, but eventually they'll figure it out. Then there's obstacles on both the floor and the roof, showing that you can't rely on either of them to fly. So most players will tap, 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 tap to swing the ship through. And then there's a bit more gameplay, and finally you reach the ending of the ship part. Maybe you pick up the coin, which is very difficult. And then that's the end of the level.
I was actually really happy when I first beat Stereo Madness back 2 years ago. It was pretty funny. Now tell me more about Back on Track.
Well, Back on Track is the next level. It starts off with 4 spikes and a jump pad. Most players have already figured out that you can't jump over 4 spikes. So they go over the yellow pads. They see that the yellow pad takes you over 4 spikes. And then after that, there's a lot of gameplay using the yellow pad. After that, you hit a ship part. The ship part is very close to the beginning of the ending ship in Stereo Madness, where there is some obstacles that most players can get through. After that, there's more gameplay, and finally, you're at the end of the level. There will be some fakes, so you have to watch out for that.
Okay. So, tell me, what's so special about Polar Games? Well, the last 2 levels seem really cool because they introduced a new gameplay mechanic. I can't think of anything that Polar Games would introduce.
Well, what Polar Games introduces is the jump orb, or jump ring, depending on the game codes file, but it says jump ring, so I guess that's what we're calling it now. Anyway, it starts off with 4 spikes, which again, you realize you can't jump over. Well, you can, but it's really hard. So, people who jump and think that the jump ring is like a jump pad where you don't have to tap, but they die. And on screen, it tells them, hit the jump orb or jump ring to go over obstacles. There's multiple jump rings, but in this one, it only introduces yellow jump rings. So, then there's the same repeated spike and a bit more gameplay introducing the orbs. After that, there is still more orbs that you just jump, and then there's an infamous ship part with blocks placed randomly everywhere. And then, if you're lucky, you might be able to catch the coin, and on your next attempt, you might be able to get it. Then, there's more just gameplay with orb. And then there's a hard coin at the end that most players tend to fail on. It's literally almost frame perfect, no one. Anyway, then there's a bit of just normal gameplay that seems very similar to the Back on Track gameplay. And then more orbs, and then that's the end.
Wow. The first 3 levels must basically have to introduce the players to this whole game. How do you think RobTop intended the way for players to play like this? Like, RobTop just straight up puts super hard mechanics for new players. What do you think? Why do you think he did that?
I think he did that just to show people of how cool a singular side perspective game could really be. I mean, it's a very difficult when you're starting off in the game, but eventually you'll get used to it, and after a while, levels start coming out like Club Step and Deadlock, which I'll get to in later episodes. Thank you for listening to the Geometry Dash podcast. We hope you enjoyed. Tune in for the next episode. This is the Geometry Dash podcast, created by MountainKings, the Dasher 45, BOBWAZHERE, and verrdant.
Subscribe!
Do it. Yeah!